I noticed that my husband was really into something. He was looking at several books I never saw him look at before. The next morning, my husband told me something extremely shocking. He said he went blind. That afternoon, the Ministry of Health sent a van to pick up my husband for his blindness. I was worried for him, so I claimed that I was blind as well, to go with him, expecting that I had my things packed as well. After we arrived at quarantine, I asked my husband to stay into the ward, so we went to look around. I looked at the old-fashioned hospital, then my husband found out that I wasn't blind, but I insisted to stay with him. Soon 4 other blind people arrived. From my description and their introductions, my husband discovered 3 of them were his patients. The man that went blind first, the boy with a squint, but now was abandoned by his mother, and the girl with dark glasses. Then a voice came from the loudspeaker which gave the order that we would be isolated and can't leave the building. The food would be delivered 3 times a day, they would be responsible for burying the dead people, and so on. Later they went to search for the lavatory to get familiar with the routes in the quarantine. One day a man tried to call for help due to his injury and shot by one of the soldiers. More blind people showed up, and the food was not enough for everyone anymore. Many people started to lose their dignity and turn corridors into latrines. Some can only sleep on the floor, and since there aren't any beds available. I don't know how many days have passed since I forgot to wind up my watch, until the old man with a black eye patch came with a radio which allows us to learn about the station out of the quarantine. One day a group of blind internees called all the food and told us we have to use our valuables exchanged for the food. We had to do so because the leader of our group had the gun with him, but I did not forget his face. Eventually all our valuables were stolen. This group, in which we will call thugs, began demanding women for the first time we went. It was dreadful, but the next time I decided to take action. When I was with the leader of the thugs, I took scissors and had to slit his throat. We tried to control the food after, but soon we realized that the soldiers stopped delivering food. While everyone was starving, someone set the quarantine on fire. We tried to get out and help the soldiers, but found that all the soldiers were gone because every single person went blind. We finally came out of quarantine, a group of 7. I asked them to stay in the grocery store, and the rest, while I myself went searching for food. After a long time for searching, I finally brought back the food that I found in the secret storeroom for everyone. When I finished eating, we changed our clothes and shoes and went to a house with a girl with dark glasses to look for her parents. Her parents weren't there, so we left the key with an old woman downstairs to proceed to my house. Fortunately, no one had entered our house. When I went back to the house again, the old woman was dead, lying on the street. We found the key in her hand and buried her in her yard. I told the girl to cut off some of her hair and leave it on the door to inform her parents she was back. Then we went back to our house again. The next morning, I asked my husband to look for food with me. He went to the storeroom. Then I found the food last time. However, I was shocked by seeing many people dead on the floor. We went back without food. That night, I read stories from a book to them. Suddenly, the first blind man shouted, "I can see!" and eventually everyone regained their sight.